I recognize the value of wetlands, but I also believe that there should be the ability for mitigation. I can tell you I have individual communities in the Senate district that are literally surrounded by wetlands. And if you don't allow mitigation, they literally can't grow at all. And so I think you have to look at, I think we need to look at the quality of the wetland, recognizing that the value of wetlands, but look at the quality and look at the role of mitigation, which the legislature put in a long time ago, encouraging the Department of Natural Resources to use mitigation. In some cases, we can actually end up with better wetlands through mitigation efforts. Because oftentimes there's, for every 1 acre taken out, there can be 2 or 3 acres put back into place. And I think all those things need to be taken into account.
Yeah, along those same lines, the Wisconsin Wetlands Association is opposed to passage of the bill in its current form, but does think that it can be salvaged. Have you looked at their recommended amendments?
Not being on the committee, no, I have not.
Okay. Would you be willing to make a pledge to look at that and to advocate for the kind of amendments that would make it acceptable so that we could both protect valuable wetlands? Because they're talking about particular kinds of wetlands should not be mitigated. Mitigation should not be a first alternative. We shouldn't look just at private economic benefit. I think there are probably things that you could get behind.
I would be willing to look at what they put forward.
All right.
Yes.
I'm wondering if you can talk a little bit too about the mining bill and also the thing where they're trying to get the phosphorus bags of fertilizer displayed once again in the stores. You could talk about, first of all, I don't really understand why retailers need to display the fertilizer with phosphorus in it on their sales floor, and what's wrong with them just having a sign there. And then also I've been reading a lot about the mining bill 426. I think that's what it is, 8426. And it really looks to me that it's really going to take away a lot of public input and citizen involvement when it comes to decisions about mining. And it also is going to pretty much give mining industries total control over mining in the state of Wisconsin. I'm wondering if you could just talk a little bit about those two things.
The Assembly bill has been put forth by the Assembly. The Assembly and the Senate are kind of going on two different tracks. The Senate committee has not kicked out a bill. The chair, in my discussions with the chair, is very interested in looking at making sure that if something moves forward, it's done in a responsible manner. The mine up north, as many people know, is a very impoverished area, and the goal is to utilize the resources that are there to provide job opportunities. I believe that we can do things in an environmentally safe manner, and so not everyone might agree with that. But I believe that it's a matter of looking at how we can create a timely process. If you look at, I was just reading an article about how we compare with other states, in some cases other countries, and as far as a timely response of processing applications like this. And that's really what this is about. And so while the Assembly has put forth what they think is right, they're going through public hearings. I can tell you in our Senate, the Senate chair is very concerned that we look at making sure we address the issues affecting the wetlands, affecting the region. Obviously, there's concern with the wild rice here from the Native Americans, addressing those issues and see if we can't move forward with that in a desirable way and provide the job opportunities in the process. Yep, we had a hearing on that bill in committee, of which I serve on this week, and there's been no vote in committee. Wisconsin is the only state. This does not change This bill deals only with the ability for a retailer to display the fertilizer on the shelf. And it does not change the regulations affecting the use of phosphorus at all. Testimony pointed to the importance of utilizing phosphorus in starting lawns. That's where phosphorus is allowed in starter fertilizers. And those testifying made the argument that if you don't get a good stand, when you are seeding in a new stand, if you don't get a good stand, you can actually have more runoff, more soil loss because you don't have a good stand. And so the concern is by not necessarily even the large retailers who, like the Fleet Farms, they probably have storage in the back. But right now, the small retailer, it's a big inconvenience for the small retailer who might not have a place in the back. But the bottom line is it does not change the use of phosphorus. It simply is whether it's going to be on the shelf or not. And there's also been an amendment that was added in the assembly that puts in place requirements as far as posting, the limitations on the use of that fertilizer, and the other cautions.
Thank you.
Yes.
Regarding guards, I'd like to read something
In regards to what?
regarding jobs. I'd like to read something from the St. Stevens Point Journal, and it's regarding the Journeys Healthcare plant that's taking away 200 jobs, moving to Mexico and Georgia. And there's a statement here that says, even with millions of dollars in incentives, tax credits, and free consultation on lower health care costs for Journeys employees on the table, Mr. Ludwig and the members of the Quad C Venture Capital Group turned their backs on Germ's roots and employees in favor of Mexico and other Germ sites. My question is, how low do we have to go to have a positive business environment? With all these incentives and companies still leaving, do we have to compete with Mexican wages?
It's about creating incentives. I mean, it's
There's plenty of
obviously,
incentives
we
there.
don't want to see that, And I've talked to businesses that some have, they point out to different reasons for, but they've got a bottom line. And
But they play one against the other. They'll play Texas, or we'll go to Texas. Well, we'll beat Texas. You take the Menominee plant, they give them 10 years of tax breaks, the glass factory. When the 10 years was up, they threatened to move. This is the game they play. And the government just goes along with it.
And that's not what we want. We don't want, we saw that with the Job Z program, Minnesota. If any of you are familiar with the Job Z, you might be. Minnesota, this was a number of years. They passed a Job Z program where they gave basically businesses outside the metro area 12 years of no taxes. We lost literally hundreds of jobs in this part of the state. Most of the state didn't feel it. Our region did. We literally lost hundreds of jobs from this region over to Minnesota because of that program. Economic development, in my mind, is not about moving jobs from one state to the next or one community to the next. It's about creating an environment where the businesses that we have here want to expand here when they're in a position to
Okay,
expand.
on that issue, a lot of jobs creators are saying they need trained workers. Why did Governor Walker cut 30% out of the tech schools?
It was a 30% cut of the state aid. It was probably about
Well,
2%.
that's the majority of their funding.
No, it's not. No, sir, it's not.
Or it's a significant
The
part.
property tax, no, actually, it's not. The cut was about 2% of their funding. They get a lot of dollars from the property tax. Just check your property tax bill. So, but the bottom line is, we want it. It's one of the reasons you point to the importance of encouraging incubators. I think it's incubators are a great way of encouraging what I believe has built our country, and that is business startups, people being able to start their own business. And that's the type of thing that we want to encourage. And I also believe that when you have people starting on their business in their home community, they're less apt to pick up and relocate.